Russian defense minister makes first appearance after Wagner revolt. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu on Monday made his first public appearance following an armed revolt against the country's military leadership by the Wagner private military outfit. Footage shared by the Russian Defense Ministry showed Shoigu in uniform on board a helicopter, followed by him entering a military command post where he could be seen chairing a meeting and inspecting maps. The date and exact location of the visit were not specified. Rybar, a prominent pro-war blogger on the Telegram messaging app, claimed the video seemed to have been filmed before Prigozhin declared his rebellion, based on his sources from the field and from the military headquarters. The Defense Ministry wrote that Shoigu had visited a forward command post in Ukraine, where he was said to have noted the Russian army's great efficiency in the detection and destruction of Ukrainian weapon systems and soldiers. Shoigu instructed senior commanders to continue to conduct active reconnaissance in order to reveal the enemy's plans. The Defense Ministry made no mention of Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin and his mercenary fighters who had taken control of a military headquarters in the southern city of Rostov-on-Don early Saturday. Shoigu had vanished from public view for the entire weekend as Prigozhin blasted his handling of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and sent his mercenaries on a lightning-fast march toward Moscow. Wagner fighters returned to their base on Sunday after Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed to drop treason charges against Prigozhin, who has now been exiled to neighboring Belarus. The private army chief had accused Shoigu of fleeing Rostov-on-Don like a coward and was seen on video Saturday confronting two of the Russian defense minister's subordinates. Prigozhin had previously accused Shoigu and Russia's top general Valery Gerasimov of being responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of Russians in the conflict and the surrender of territory to the enemy. Titan latest, Marine Board investigation begins over what caused implosion. The U.S. Coast Guard said Sunday it is leading an investigation into the loss of the Titan submersible that was carrying 5 people to the Titanic, to determine what caused it to implode. Captain Jason Neubauer, chief investigator, said the salvage operations are ongoing, and they have mapped the accident site. He did not give a timeline for the investigation. Neubauer said the convening of a Marine Board of Investigation is the highest level of investigation conducted by the U.S. Coast Guard. Investigators are working closely with other national and international investigative authorities, including the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, Transportation Safety Board of Canada, the French Marine Casualties Investigation Board and the United Kingdom Marine Accident Investigation Branch, Neubauer added. Evidence is being collected in the port of St. John's, Newfoundland, in coordination with Canadian authorities. The Coast Guard Board can make recommendations to prosecutors to pursue civil or criminal sanctions as necessary. Ukraine war, counteroffensive grinds on in the aftermath of Wagner attempted coup. The fast-moving, and at times puzzling, apparent attempted coup in Russia this weekend did not have a noticeable effect on the Russian army posture along the 1,000-kilometer front line in eastern Ukraine, but it could give Ukraine the impetus it needs to intensify its counteroffensive, which military leaders have admitted is going slower than expected. In the short term, it distracted attention from the war and diverted some resources from the front, said Nigel Gould-Davies, a senior fellow for Russia and Eurasia at the International Institute for Strategic Affairs. But in the longer term, he said, it shows lack of unity among Russia's fighting forces. It's terrible for Russia's morale. The officers and soldiers alike. It's very good for Ukraine's morale. Ukrainian soldier Andriy Kvasnitsia, 50, who was injured fighting in the eastern city of Bakhmut, where battles are non-stop along the southern flanks of the salt mining town occupied by Russian troops, said everyone is excited. As Wagner troops marched toward Moscow, Hanna Maliar, Ukraine's deputy defense minister, announced progress in several directions along the front line where fighting has been raging for weeks, and that Russian advances further north were thwarted. The enemy's weakness is always a window of opportunity. It allows us to take the advantage, she told AP, adding that it was too early to assess how the political game playing out in Russia might give Ukraine the military upper hand. Ukraine stepped up attacks in several directions in the southeast earlier this month, a move that signaled its much-anticipated counteroffensive had begun. But progress has been slower than desired, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has acknowledged. Experts have said the Ukrainians need to maintain flexibility and speed to exploit Russian vulnerabilities along the front line, and puncture lines of defense when the opportunity presents itself. With modern NATO standard weapons systems in their possession, morale is the necessary ingredient to summon the velocity Ukrainian troops need to change the dynamics on the ground, they say. This is going to give the Ukrainians a real boost, said James Nixey, head of Chatham House's Russia and Eurasia program. If we've been saying that the Ukrainians do have a lot to fight for, they have been lacking a little bit in morale of late.